My name is Tegan.
And
my name is Brett.
Rick.
Rebecca.
I've been practicing at Modo since February, so it was about 5 months.
I guess I've been practicing yoga for about 8 years. Yeah, on and off.
Off and on for the last 5 years.
I don't know when practicing yoga officially begins, but I've been active and have stretched a lot since I was a little kid. Like seriously started last May, so like a year and a couple months.
My first experience ever doing yoga, I had suffered a very bad concussion and I was trying to recover. I was having trouble concentrating. My balance was a huge problem. My body had been extremely tight because I hadn't done any activity for 5 months during my recovery. So it was, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess nerve-wracking. It was a very uncomfortable experience at first. I was the only male. I was at the back of the class. I was constantly looking at everyone else instead of perhaps getting more dialed into my practice. But the teacher was very helpful. I was very grateful for that. It was a very inviting space.
I did a class with my painter friend, Chris, one of my apprentices. His wife did hot yoga, and then she dragged him in here, and then he in turn told us about the deal, and then Chris and I came in. It was sort of a construction guys thing. We tried out or whatever.
The one that comes to mind, I don't know if it was my first practice, but my first real practice was at a Modo studio, and I walked out of the class because it was too hot. Yeah, I think I lasted 5 minutes, and then I realized the importance of water.
I hated it. It was when I was in college, and it was part of our curriculum, and I was like, how is this a class? So, yeah.
I think it was a high school yoga class, like a semester-long yoga, I think. That was my first.
And I was like, this is just the worst thing ever. Why would anyone want to do this?
Before trying yoga, my impression was it was for people who were, I guess, really in shape. I thought yoga was a very female-dominated activity.
I think growing up it was seen as a generally feminine activity.
What I thought it was mainly for women, first of all. Kind of like a stigma thing, right? Like you're a construction guy, you're supposed to be sort of rough and tumble, and yoga doesn't really imply that.
Handstands and beautiful back bends, and I thought that you had to look a certain way.
You had to be a hippie, which I am actually a little bit of a hippie, but for sure I'm like, you have to be a hippie, and you probably have to wear a lot of patchouli and tie-dye, and and also you had to be really spiritual, really one with your body, and that wasn't me at all, and I'm not really like that.
And also it took a lot of mental strength to stay focused and not laugh or get distracted or leave or fall asleep. Especially if friends are in them. You make eye contact in an awkward pose.
Honestly, I didn't think it was for guys. What a silly thing to think.
And it was actually Modo that made me realize that that's not the case.
But now that I do it regularly, I see all walks, all people from all walks of life and all occupations in here, so it's...
My friend introduced me to hot yoga years later, probably about 5 to 7 years later, and I was like, I'm not gonna like it. I hated yoga. I remember how much I complained about it all the time in college, and she was like, no, trust me, this is in a hot room, you're really gonna like it. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even take the 2-week trial. I just bought one class because I really was pretty sure I wasn't gonna like it. And then I stepped into the hot room and I'm like, oh, I see. Yes, I do like it. And then from that moment on, I was hooked, really. Yeah. So to stretch in hot is also much better, I think, than just regular old everyday temperature that people can get. No.
When I started seeing how accessible it was to men, I realized that yoga is for everyone. It can be for everyone at any level.
I knew at the end of one session, I felt better coming out than when I went in, so I knew it was doing my body good somehow. So I find it helps me in my trade. It gives me core strength, it gives me more mobility, more flexibility, and it relieves a lot of my stress that I have from the job and elsewhere. So it just sort of made me more aware of things in my body.
I was volunteering at this specific studio here in Squamish, and yeah, I felt super at home. I was doing the energy exchange program. To be an energy exchanger in its most simple form is to exchange your time to help out the studio in whatever they need. I'd be getting free yoga in exchange for giving up a little bit of my time in the week, which in my opinion was a very fantastic exchange. My favorite yoga pose. I think bow pose. Is that the one where you're on your stomach and you have your legs behind your back and you're grabbing it? And it's probably one of the most awkward moves you can do as well in the Modo sequence. Locking it in, bow pose, for sure.
My favorite yoga pose is probably Hero, Sleeping Hero. Yeah.
You know, I would say probably child's pose, because it kind of relaxes my lower back a bit, like it sort of stretches it out or whatever, however it does it. So yeah, I'd say my go-to pose is child's pose.
I really like downward dog, which I didn't like it at all at the beginning, and I hated doing chaturangas when I first ever started doing yoga, but I actually love that. I love that right now. That's one of my favorites.
My one piece of advice to somebody who's scared to come to yoga is probably that they're not alone, and most people start off being scared. And that I've been to a lot of different studios, and Modo is definitely a safe space.
One piece of advice that I would give is something that I am told quite often, that just showing up to class and laying on your mat is success, and there's no end outcome that should happen, or look this way or feel this way, but just getting here, that's the most important part. If we just continuously practice showing up, then the rest will take care of itself.
Just do it. I would say, because you have to just try it. You have to try everything once, just like something that you're eating. You have to try it once for sure to know if you really like it. And I do think that yoga is for everybody and for all body types, and what you put into it is what you get out of it, which I think is great for everyone.
It's for everybody, and it helps everybody, and I mean, it just does, like I can tell just doing yoga for the last 2.5 years that I've probably, as far as health-wise and mobility, I've probably gone back about 10-15 years. The stuff that I sort of stopped doing or couldn't do as well, I'm doing again, so it's made my body, it's just kind of rejuvenated, I guess.
It's time to yogi.